gave you an exposure to a very assortment of different tools for content creation, right from PowerPoint to video creation, probably annotation, video editing, digital board, and so on and so forth. So that means we have now created the content, and the content is ready with us. So then comes the next logical requirement of that content has to now be taken to the students. We need to give that content to the students. So there needs to be some platform, some measures available for us to give it to the students or the learners in any particular learning system. So that's what is the single line genesis of this session. Now, this session is going to be an different kinds of tools, but for the sake of convenience and much more usability, we have adopted Google resources for the same. But essentially, the functions that we perform could have been performed in any other proprietary tool, or like say Moodle or free and open source also, right? So it's not attached per se with the Google, but we are just going to see different ways by which we can deliver the content to the students and get engaged during this part of content delivery. I mean, taking the content and giving it to the learners. Now, before I begin, I would start with a very humble submission that I'm not expert in all of these or many of these. This is the collected knowledge that I have received from my own peers or my teachers over a period of time. My teacher might have not used Google, but he would have used this functionality in some or other way. It is now packaged in Google. I'm just going to give it to you. He might have used the same thing in pen paper model also, right? So this is a collective learning from my teachers who have made me, and also my peers with whom I interact. And probably in a little wisdom, we understood that I can probably talk very loud, right? Or the voice is very audible, otherwise also without mic probably. So they said it's okay. So I can deliver the content that I have been enriched with from my peers. So this is, with this submission I would begin. Now I'll just go through this. Many of you in this audience might be already aware of all of these also, right? So many of these maybe just, it's a very well-known content topic or a skill to you, but nevertheless, let us travel with our class members here, because in any typical classroom also it would be the same. We might be teaching, for example, what is the unit of mass? It's a kg, right? Maybe for 40 students in the class, they already know it. But there may be one student in the class who might not know it, so it is still okay to tell. I mean, here and there I will try to give a personal anecdotes also. I typically tell them kg like K is not capital, because if you write capital K and G, it becomes Kelvin gram. And I say, just because sugar, when you go to a grocery shop, buy sugar or whatever it is, 2 kgs will be written in all caps. I said, there it is written for a different purpose, because the customer should be able to read it. There it is not the scientific objective in the mind, whereas here it's a scientific objective. So you can't write capital K, and there is no plural, thanks to somebody who taught, I mean, my physics teacher of 6th standard, that she said that there is no plural in units, Naren. That statement is still there from my 6th standard. So there is no plural in any units. That's not adopted, right? So if somebody writes kgs, it is Kelvin gram seconds, and it is not the unit of mass. This is my typical standard example when I begin the 4th semester course in chemical engineering. So why am I saying this? Maybe other than 1%, the speaker, everybody else in the class may already know it. But still it is okay to tell what we know, just to cross-check whether we really know what we know. Right? This is what we are doing also as part of revision. To put it in a lighter way, now if everybody knows all these things, now you might be, if I don't take the class in a very interesting, this class in a very interesting mode, assuming that this is a revision class, that the same psychology would be there for the student also, right? When I do a revision class, it's okay, he has already taken for all 60 class, again he is telling from the first unit, Podum sir, it's okay, bore, right? But that means, unless we also go through that, not for the pain, but we need to know how to revise also. So I will try to do the revision to the best possible, that despite you knowing it, probably I will try to package it as if it's a very new information, but it may not be. It's actually a very known information, just given in a very form that is very easier for you or looks lucrative to listen and then see it. Now these are the gist of topics that I have listed. We will cover under this Google platform. So creation of Google Classroom, structuring, other Google resources, assignment, and Google form quiz. To the extent possible, I will try to cover this, but if not, right, we are always free to interact outside this formal engagement, typically expected in a class, and that's why we are going to create those forums. And to the extent, this is also one of the good teaching philosophies, that is what being told to me by, again, my teachers and peers, that it's not the urge to cover everything that you have planned. At times, it's okay to slightly deviate from the schedule and make it little incomplete, because it's not how many topics being covered that is important, it is how many topics being received at the other end, right? So that's probably a very nice notion to put it that way. So I have listed this, and let us go one by one. Now, before I start to create, we will see that we have something called Shastra Faculty Classroom. So many of you might have already joined, but I will show this as a means of how to join a classroom. In case if somebody has not joined, your own good colleagues have not joined, you can tell them, so the same procedure applies to students also. And I think we are still missing in our board probably 150 of our own good colleagues who are not probably known how to join, and that's why they are not aware of this, because you can see the numbers to be 566. I think our good strength is somewhere around 700, I suppose, probably including both the campus. So I think we should at least have probably 100 more people to join, right? And to join this, we need this shastra.ac.in. So which is like, if I show on the top, you can see that PR Narain at SABT. Now, many of you have it. Some of you might have not got this or forgotten. So if you have to get this email ID, all you have to do is just drop a simple email to Mr. Sridhar, so who sits in the TIFAC core system assistant or a system administrator. Okay, so just put at Sridhar at shastra.edu, and he's so nice a person that he gives this ID even from his home at the click of his mobile, or I think the resources that he has at his home. And he will reset also for the password if you do not have the password, or if you have lost the password or forgotten, and so on and so forth. So this is one. The same procedure applies to your students also. If they did not get their register number at shastra.ac.in, whom they should contact, they should just drop an email from their personal email ID. It is for the students. We will send email from our EDU ID. Because we send from EDU ID, no documents is required for Mr. Sridhar to verify, because it is already, he has that. But if a student sends from a Gmail, just advise them to attach their Shastra ID card. For the first years, ID card might not be there, but they will have some proof of, the admit letter, or some proof would be definitely they will have, so they can just send that as an attachment to their email to Mr. Sridhar, and he will set the password, reset the password and everything. So anything to do with shastra.ac.in, remember Mr. Sridhar, type a code. You don't need to visit him, no need to call him, just drop the mail. It will get set within a maximum of a day. So once you have that and log in with that, this is a Google based account. So you can see that you can log in with your Gmail. Typically in Chrome, we would have already logged in with many a times Gmail. And the Chrome remembers that, or we might have made it to remember. So when you start your system, it might be with your personal Gmail. So if you see in the top, it will be with the Gmail. It is possible to have any number of logins on a browser in different tabs and work on with. Now this is my personal Gmail. So from this you can't join. So if you have in like this, you should click here. You should say add another account and add your account. Let's say I have already added my shastra.ac.in. If I just click this, it will open in the next tab with the ac.in. So once you are in the ac.in, so you have to click at this plus symbol, join class, and in this join class, give the class code. This is to join as a student attributes in a classroom. Your students have to give join class code to join a classroom. Now, all of us will also use the join code to join the Shastra faculty classroom. So what is the classroom code? If you click on this classroom, this is the join code. It is 3HRBJPU. So I have nothing to do with the code, what it reads to you, but this is auto-generated by the Google, right? So this is the join code. If you give this join code, if anybody here have not joined, you can simultaneously join also by using this code. Use this join code in this home page here, and you will be able to join this class. So that is possible. So this is what is how to join a class, right? So for your students also, you should do the same. Now this join code keeps changing. I think over a period of probably a month or something, Google changes it. So sometimes students will tell you, sir, join panne sir class code, but it is not joining. That does not mean that they have not done that. So just see that what join code they have used, and just go back and see what join code is there now. So many a times we tell them, illa ida join code, needa odunga join panla. I mean, it could be the join code has changed, right? Both of you are correct, but one information is not synchronized between both of you. Is the join code characters. So you can just check that, and I think somebody has joined, so that's nice. So it was, I think, 567. So there is a real-time update of I think it was 66. It updated to 67. Now let's see how to create a class. So again, on this click plus icon, you have to create a class. Now this create class, what happened to internet? Okay. So this create class might not work, might not be there for some people. That's just a small setting. That means you have not been assigned as a teacher role privileges with your ac.in. So again, just write email to Sridhar. Just say that you don't have this create class functionality. He will enable the privileges of a teacher. So only teachers can create class in the ac.in. But if you are there with your regular Gmail, anybody can create, but we are not going to use the personal Gmail because we want to create a collective combined digital repository for the institution. So we want to use the ac.in feature. So in this class code, so you can put the class code. Now what class name to put? I think any name is okay, but one tips if you want, I would put probably by, let's say the academic year 2020-21, like suppose MGT 213. Okay, so the academic year that I'm taking, and probably if you still want to differentiate odd, even, maybe like this, and then create it. So let me create now, let's say, a workshop 2. This is optional field, subject, and this room is also optional. And you just say create, it will get created. Is it clear? So this is the way to create. So let it take time. So once it is created, obviously the next functionality is to invite people, or you have to join. You have to make your students join. So here there are two things. We also want other teachers to join the classroom. So this is the workshop that is being created. And these are the tabs. You have a stream tab, classwork tab, people, and the grades tab. As I said, I may not in-depth cover everything, but the basic thing that we want, we will cover in this. And probably we will have this feature of faculty empowerment workshop, enrichment workshop every year, so that we will exchange it, explore, and share the good experiences. So the basic things I'm going to try to touch upon during this session. So if you look into this people tab, now we have to add students and teachers. So for many of the courses, we will have multiple teachers. So you can invite teachers of the same course also. By clicking at this invite, teachers cannot join. With the teaching rights, it cannot be with the join code. It has to be invited. Let's say, for example, so who is correctly logging and seeing? Sir, okay, so anybody else? Ponuswamy sir is there. Yeah, so if you just type it, I think it fetches because it's from the same domain. So I'm just inviting him. I will also, to just show how it looks when it gets invited, I will also invite my other resource person. Premlata madam is there here, so I will just add her as also a faculty to just see if you have been invited, how it looks. Right. And then similarly, now you have to invite students. Okay. So I'll just go this. Now I'm in the Premlata madam's ID. This is in a so I opened simultaneously in Chrome and Firefox to just show a feel. So if you have invited your colleagues to the course, Google Course Classroom, right? This is how it will show to that colleague to whom you have invited. All you have to say is to accept it. The moment you accept, now for here, it gets reflection. So Ponuswamy sir has already accepted. So madam has also, I have accepted from madam's login as well. Is it clear? So this is what teachers have to be done. I think the limit for this is 20 on the G Suite. So I'm not sure if we have courses of more than 20 teachers. But if it is so, now that's a personal bonding and the gelation that you will have for that course among the teachers, that you can ask some of the teachers to join as students, right? But otherwise, this should be okay for most of the courses. Now, students, you can type their register number at shastra.ac.in, which you can get it from your key list. So if you know the key list in Academic Web, the key list is made available as an Excel, and you can use Excel to just add concatenation of at shastra.ac.in. You need to do it for everything. You need to just do it for drag using an expression, and then it gets added by concatenation, and then you can just copy paste here and invite. But this is a very laborious process if you have 300 students to be invited. The best thing is to give the class join code. Now I'm showing what is the class join code here. So this is the join code for this workshop 2. So whoever wants to join now, if you just use this class code and then join, you will become members of this class, right? So if you just join with this class code, FW7WJ FW7WJDI. FW7WJDI. So if you just use this code, you will just join as part of this classroom feature. So that is one thing that we can think. Now let me go to the people. I will invite, I have one more ID to show, that is Dr. Shankar is there. He's also so I am adding I am inviting Dr. Shankar as a student, let's say, to this. Now, this is from Shankar's login. If I just refresh again, I think this invitation has to go. But here again is the same process. I think you will get email of the invitation also. Once you get email, yeah, I think there are many people have already joined, so that's nice. So yeah, Shankar has already joined, sorry. So that means it has already, probably I just clicked somewhere, but here in this workshop too, it would have got accepted. So this is the process of adding students to this classroom. Now I'll just show the setting. If you are on the workshop 2 and with a teacher, as a teacher, right, if you can go to this setting, this you can do it for your own course classroom. Now if you can see here, this is where the classroom code, again you can see, you can reset this if you want. If you don't want people to join after some time, you can disable, which should not be the case, but that's just a thing. And other this stream, you have 3 options, like students can post, comment, student can only comment, and teachers can post or comment. The students can post and comment is the default, and that is what I would advise. So it will make students to also post comments. But if you just say student can only comment, they cannot post anything in the stream section. And if the last one, if you choose, then all the students in your class will be just like passive borrowers of the material rather than contributors of the material. So, which I would not advise, but it's left to the situation that it demands, for which you are creating a Google Classroom. So that is one thing. Now after creating this, the next logical step is how I will add the material, right? I need to add a material. So adding material, I have to go to this, or you can do it in the stream itself. Yes, good. So this Gomati madam has put like hello sirs. So the students can put like this. So this is possible because I have enabled students can post. Now we can post any topics, whatever you are delivering, course material, link, everything. Like say for example, I want to first post a syllabus. Yeah. Yeah, as a syllabus, I'll just add. Let's say you want to add a link, you can add, or typically you want to add a material. So you go to upload, browse. Let's say you have any material to be added. And you can post immediately, or you can schedule the post. So if you post immediately it will be available to the students, or you can schedule it when it want to go to the students. This is one way of directly delivering the material that you have prepared to them. You can add any type of file, video also you can upload here, but the video size, if it is more, then it is going to affect at the other end primarily to download it. That is what is important in this case. But before going to this classwork, now let's say how this looks from the student viewpoint. If I just go to, let's say, Shankar, and I'll just click this, because this is now from the student screen, right? So it will be visible who is posting, everything will be visible. So Dr. Shankar as a student will be able to comment, right? That is possible to this. Or a student with the student attributes, he can also post something. He can also upload, add, whatever it is. So that is also available. Now, before going to the next topic, let's see that what happens in the faculty classroom. Let me just go to the faculty classroom. So this is our typical faculty classroom. So what did you see? These are all posts that are there from the beginning. We can make this session interactive because otherwise it becomes very much a monologue. What did you observe by going through these streams? I mean, what comes to your feel? I'm not asking what is technically the meaning of those posts. My question is, by looking through all this, what comes? If you are a student looking through this stream post in a core subject, what would come to your mind? Something comes, right? Huh? Okay, all sort of presentation, clarification, then what are all? What happened, activities happened in this course, then so fantastic. Are you able to get the genesis of what Madam told? You are at the end of third CA and I want to see the first unit. The first task is, where is the first unit? First unit, let it be anything in there. Where is that first unit first of all in this? So you have to go up and down, right? Don't we get a kind of aversion or irritation or inertia that it's okay, yeah, why we go down and say it's okay, right? The same thing will happen if we go to library, the books are shuffled here and there, even if it is there in the next random, that's all. We will assume that the book is not there. We will not have patience to look for that book. And that's the trick as a student, in the typical student age, we would also have time to secure the book only for ourselves for the entire semester. This is as a natural human tendency. Right? About this, would you like to have this kind? Typically not, right? Okay. So this would not happen, right? Typically then, this is not something we want. We want it to be little structured, though learning could happen in an unstructured way, or I do not know whether learning can happen only in a structured way or learning happens effectively in an unstructured way, which is an entirely open question. That's a different thing, but at least the tools to facilitate learning, if it is structured, perhaps it might attract students. So compare with this, I'll just open another classroom for you. This is not to just show, I mean, this is nothing to do with, because it's on my login. Somebody else could have done an extraordinarily structuring. And I just want to go through this. Don't see the contents, just focus on this title. This title part alone, you just focus. So this is online sessions. Then you have solution key, web resources, quiz, course notes, tutorials. This is spot error, that's okay. General, open discussion, activities, course log, assignment, course syllabus, course plan. So are you able to see the difference? Right? I'm not saying this will definitely make them effective learner, but at least the impediment to search or we have reduced. We are saying that you don't need to spend too much of your effort in locating the information, rather spend good energy in assimilating that information. So the first part I will travel for you. The next part only you can travel for yourself. Is it clear? So that's the message I want to drive here. So I would advise not to put the materials on the stream. This also has another advantage. If you archive the class, this semester is over. This is, if you see 29, this is just the last semester. After that, I don't want this class to all appear here and then be cluttered. So what I will do is, I will say archive. So if it is archive, I'll just say archive. It just goes off from the first screen, but the material is still available and students still will be able to see, but for them also it will be archived. Is it clear? I will do, like, for example, this workshop 2, I will make it archive now. Whoever has joined, if you refresh and see, it will be archived, right? It will be archived for you. Many a times students, if there are little unfortunate students who could not clear the course in the regular time and in the regular stipulated semester, they may ask you for notes, right? And they may tell you, I'm not able to see the classroom. You might have used a Google Classroom, but they may say that they are not able to see. Why they are not able to see? It's not like you have removed them, but you have archived the class itself. So let me just go to the student view. So this is so if you see from Dr. Shankar's login, that workshop 2 is not there. He's a student login. So he can go see in his archived classes. So I'm still at the Shankar's login. So that means with the student privileges login, he can see this. He will not be able to restore the class, but he can still click see the material. Right? This is possible. Right? Every semester you have to create the course. Right? And you may need to archive. But every semester, do you think, or would you be, if I say that you again and again create the post, then that is now an inertia for us, right? Because once if I have structured, I want to use those materials any number of times I deliver. If you want to use the materials that you have created, right, then it should be in the classwork session and not in the stream. Stream post, if you post in the stream tab, that will not be available for reuse. If my understanding is not correct, so please you can stop me, because many people would have used this extensively. But to my understanding, I think stream does not allows for repost. That is what I understood. It will be only from the material. So that is why it will be only from the classwork. That's why I say create in classwork. Don't directly put it in stream. So this is the second advantage. So I hope, are you convinced now why you should use probably a classwork rather than a stream? Did I tell you how to create a classwork? The segregation. Did I tell you how to create that classwork segregation, or did I tell you why classwork is to be created? Did I tell you how to create, or did I tell you why to create? So we are all teachers. We know that why we are unconsciously tutored to this, because this is what I said I borrowed, or I am beyond rectification. I'm infected by my teachers, that they said it is extremely important to tell why to tell that topic rather than actually telling the topic. Because let us assume that today I am not going to show you how to create classwork. What will happen to you? If I don't show you how to create classwork, what you will do? Think yourself as like learners. If I don't show you how to create classwork, what you will do? What and all you can do? I'll put it that way now. Explore and find. Then Only one. Explore and find. Then explore and find. Then okay, so something else. Ask somebody else. Ask me. Ask someone. Right? So the learning is achieved, right? Whether the point of learning a subject is whether I should teach you or is it like you should learn it? Which is more important? Both are important. I'm not saying one is not at all important, right? That may also be important. But what is precedence important? What is the inner core in learning? The inner core is learning is that person has to learn. It need not matter who is telling them. Is it clear? So that means if this has to happen, right, then I need to tell the why part. Suppose, just take a minute digression, I do the reverse. Suppose I showed you, suppose I assume, construct an experiment in the mind and assume that I have showed you how to create a classwork, but I have not showed you why, I have not told you why to create. Then what will happen? Then what will happen? You do not know the importance. Then, as a consequence of not knowing the importance, what will happen? Fantastic. I will not implement in the Google class, it will do in stream. So that means if if we are not convinced with why we have to learn, no matter how much it is learned, no matter the best teacher of the world taught us, we will still not use that. It's not because we do not know how to use, because we are not convinced why to use. Is it when to use that? So this is exactly the same, no matter whether it is Google Classroom or fluid mechanics or I don't know, it is English. Is it clear? Because maybe at I'm not a very good trained educationalist, but I cannot make that comment. But probably at little younger age, you may not be able to impress upon them the why part. But once they are, let's say, in the college, at least we should take so much effort on that why part. This is one very trademark feature of one of my teacher whom I had, of when he takes for 90 minutes, we had like 1.5 hours class or something, 70 minutes he will tell why it has to be learned in every different form and tone and language and kadai, stories, everything. Right? We literally became, is it clear? Then he will say, okay, now it is only 10 more minutes, I don't have time, so let's see later. Next class, other topic it will go. This topic he will consciously not tell. But by the time we would have learnt it. Is it clear? Because it creates so much thirst. And that I would try to emphasize, even though it's going to be a digression slightly. Creating and sustaining the thirst in a student, I think, is the basic, if you ask me humbly, I would put it, the one and the only function, the central crux of a teacher or a facilitator, and that's it. Rest all is born out of this central crux. If I'm able to create that thirst in a student, he will definitely search the water to quench it because he feels thirsty. And I should only do one more job. I should ensure no matter how much gallons of water is galloped, his thirst should never be quenched. The more he drinks, the more I will create the thirst. Till the point that the thirst itself is induced in himself on his own. Right? When it is auto-catalyzed, then it is okay. My function is over. Then I think an external teacher as such is not required. The teacher and the student or the learner and the facilitator becomes one and oneself within there. So that's why I took a longer time to tell why classwork, but I will use the same philosophy. I'll just take 2 minutes to tell how to do classwork. So that I don't want to tell how it has to be done stepwise. So I'll just give one example of how to do. So I am again in the teacher, so I have to restore it. I'll go to my archived classes. This is how you can restore this workshop 2. If you just click here, it will say restore. The moment it restores, yeah, go to workshop 2, go to classwork, create. I'll focus on this material. What are other things in this that you will explore, right? Just click on this material. So let's say, for example, syllabus. This is what I want to title, or I want to put, this is tutorial problems. Okay, so you can give some description of, or whatever, solve these, something like that. Then you can add the file that you want. So let's say you just add the file that you want, and you can post to all the students, and you can post selectively the students. Now the feature for this is, suppose if you have a combined class, I would still post to all the students. I will not go and find who are all my students, and that. It's not required per se, because who knows, probably that teacher's problems are much more learner-centric or interesting to solve than my own problems. So at least they can learn it by that way also from collaborating. So I don't really mind what materials are shared if we have combined classrooms, or if we invite other students also, other section students also in our classroom. I'm not talking for this online semester. In general also, we do have this. Like for example, Ponusabhi sir, I would say, he was taking thermodynamics last semester. I was not taking, but I was teacher in his class, and I would see assignments, whatever they have posted, and go and tell him, sir, ipdi ezhirukanga, apdi ezhirukanga. Because he was extremely gracious enough to just add, to just probably feel comment. In my fluid mechanics class, I had students of Rajan sir's fluid mechanics class students. I had Rajan sir as a teacher, that's a different issue. But I had his students also in my class. It was not like section A, section B. I was taking for chemical, he was taking for biotech. But still we had, because we said it is okay. As long as students learn from any one of us, it is still acceptable. So that is where the gelling and the bonding between the teachers taking a course or among our own peers facilitate or comes us. So that's something I want to share. And in this topic creation, you create a topic. Let's say I will say this is like tutorials, something I'll put. Here you can put tutorial of this topic. Maybe I'll put as settling, something like that, right? And I'll just post this. Now if you are a student, in the student login, it will get posted. So if it is posted in the classwork, it will appear. Like this, you can add material by material and structure it. Now where are these materials going and sitting? These materials, okay. Okay, let me put it. Now this is not an interruption, but this is again a learning. We should be mindful of this. We are now at this place very blessed that our university is able to give good internet, free internet, and we are able to do all these things. But our students, when they sit from their classrooms, their homes, they may not be having such a good facility of access to internet. They may have a very good Apple laptop, but what is the point of having an iMac or whatever it is when net is not there strong? Is it clear? So when we deliver also, we should be little mindful of what is there. We may not be able to solve that data issue, but I'm only saying that at least acknowledge and be aware of that there could be such issue, because that will help you to upload what is the size of the video that you want to upload. You might be able to upload a 1 hour video in 20 minutes. but that person will not even able to download in 2 hours. So eventually it is not, he does not wants to view the video, he is not able to view the video, that's it, right? So that's one thing. But I think if it is posted in the classwork, it should be there, or whoever has joined would be able to see this. Okay, it is not posted. Yeah, so create. Okay. Yeah, it is posted. Now you will be able to see this. Apart from classroom, where this goes, and you can see it, either from the student or from the teacher login. If you click at this class drive folder, it will go to the drive.google.com where you will see that material. Now this might not have a lot of material because I'm just creating it. I'll go to my drive. So how to go to my drive? Just in Google, put drive Google. You don't need to remember any URL. Just put drive Google. It will take you to a URL, right? And if you look into that, yeah, this is how the drive will look like. You need not see the folders, but there will be a folder for you at the first time. So this drive, there will be a folder called classroom. So if you click at that classroom, all the classroom that you have created will be as a folder. So you will see it as a folder there. So that means these many classrooms I have created in this Gmail over past whatsoever, right? So this is, in this, if you see now, there will be a workshop too. Because I created it. If you click this, the files will be there. Okay. So this is one another repository other than Google Classroom, but linked to the Google Classroom itself. Now if you go to this Google Classroom, let me just show you the fluid mechanics drive just for another reason. Okay. The classwork session was very segregated, but you will not see the files to be segregated in the drive. I mean the topic, if you see that it was coming as syllabus, see a solution key and those things. That will not come in the drive. It will be only an assortment of materials. That's it. All materials will come one after other. That's it. Right? It may come in a different category. You can change the category. That's a different issue. But otherwise it just populates. Now here there is something that is again very much important, which I learned in my formative years, is the file naming nomenclature. Right? You should create the file in such a manner in which you think you can relocate it, or you think somebody else will be able to relocate it, right? So this is again is something which I have observed. So while creating itself, try to have your own nomenclature or some kind of an indexing system so that you will be able to identify that file with a name, and the contents of similar type gets segregated. Now for example, you can see here, I mean these are all typically tells me something else, these tells something else, and so on and so forth. So you can pick the file name so that your repository is something here. Now for our, I also take this opportunity that we have our NAC documentation going on. I think as a part of team 1 or team 2, I'm not instantly clear. We are also asked to collect the Google Classroom links or materials like that, right? Now what happened is, many unknowingly, if we are asked to give the classroom link, like say they gave this URL. Let's say I want to give the URL of this classroom, which is like this. They gave this. But if you gave this, for the, let me just, if this I give, I'll just, I'll just take a moment. I'll just show you how it looks if an outsider sees that. I'm just restoring that fluid mechanics class. There was one question in the morning, and which Anuradha madam, I think EC, right? she helped to clarify that. I just want to take in appreciation of her and tell that here, that you might be part of many classrooms, some of which you have created, some of which you are just students. How to know which are you have created? And then if you just click at this icon, main menu, the one that you are created, you are a teacher, are listed here. The one that you are part of is listed here. Now, for example, some of us might have had Google Classroom from the exam wing, for which we are only as students, we are only part, we are not teacher roles. So those are all this. Okay. So let me go where I left. Suppose if I give this link, in few places, a few people have given this link. Now let's say I'm in a different browser and I'm trying to see this. I have logged in with ac.in. This is with Premlata madam, but still it will not allow me to see that because she is not enrolled neither as a teacher nor as a student in this classroom. By statutory requirements, I think, or the requirements of NAAC, they are supposed to see that content, right? It is not the link. I think we are supposed to see the content. And if the thing is clear, this was also asked during IET, and Dean Mechanical would recollect. He literally asked, are you doing like first time, or how many batches are there? So I think then PND, I was demonstrating, and then PND intervened and said like he has been doing this for this many years, show that, right? So this was the question when somebody visited. So how to solve this? Because we will create now so many classrooms, and if we give this URL, nothing will get opened. And if it is not opening, again, this is something what I borrowed from my teacher is, if it is not working, it is not there. That's it. Right? He says we will not have time to find out and all why it is not working when we are in point of just checking that list. Is it clear? So we have to make sure that it is working when it goes to the other end. So instead of giving this URL, go to this drive. Okay, go to this drive. Let's say I want to give this fluid mechanics. So click here. I think net. Right. So you can click here and then click at that plus kind of icon, and then you have to change the setting to click this and then say anyone with the link, right? And make it as a viewer. If you make it as an editor, they will edit your file directly in the drive. Even if you put it as viewer, they can download and repost. That's a different issue that you cannot stop. I'm of a different opinion. Why it should stop? As long as the content is good, it's still okay. This is a teaching content, but that's a different topic altogether. But as of now, don't make it as an editor. Make it as only a viewer. So viewer, and then say done. Then again click here, and then just copy this link. I'm going to Firefox. Right? The contents are visible now. Okay, so the contents are visible now. So this is what we should share the drive after making it access. Now this is another difficulty here. What is the difficulty here is that person, this is from the other end, will see also like this, right? This makes him, I'm not saying it is not okay, but this does not impresses him that we have made different kinds of contents. I would just make an opinion if I'm from the other end. There are many files put and I'm able to see. That's it. Right? I do not know what category of files or what is the functionality or the purpose of the files that is being put. Just see another kind of, instead of that, suppose if this is not required per se, of course, but I think this is eventually we have to give it to some documentation repository, so that's why I'm covering it. Suppose if I give this link, suppose if I give you, instead of this link, suppose if I give this link, and this is what the other end uses. Can you understand? right? Slightly better impression or message could have been conveyed. Okay, they have made different kinds of things. It's okay, right? And this is what I said. Sir would recollect. I literally showed this and I said, over so many semesters I have done. This is what different batches. Then he said, okay, right? So that means don't share the drive. You have to make a little duplication. I am telling not for the course, but whenever it comes for the NAC and we want it, you can go to your drive, add a new folder, okay, create a structure there. So I have created a folder called course repository for all the courses that I have taught. And in that folder, I have created subfolders and then collected the materials. Batch-wise materials I have put under batch docs. Common materials, now tutorials I may not change over a period of time. I put it in the same. And this drive, this fluid mechanics drive, I have made it as an open link and then shared it. Is it clear? So this is one way of sharing it, right? So I think we will stop here to energize ourselves and also to sync. Maybe we will get back by another 10-15 minutes and then we will start. Right? Thank you. So let us resume. I'll just quickly recap. By the time others join in, we saw how to join a classroom. We saw how to create a classroom, how to invite people either as a teacher's role or as a student role. And then we saw how to put materials, upload materials. I have uploaded a PDF, I think, and a Word document, but you can upload a video also. And in the stream and the classwork, and that's where, and what is the drive, right? We'll continue further. In the classwork also, when you are creating a material, it is possible for you to schedule it. So that is possible. That is possible for you even with the within the classwork. When you are creating material, you can schedule when you want to post. So you don't need to sit at, like say, if your class at 10 o'clock, you need not sit at 9:55 and then schedule it. You can schedule it. If the class is on Friday, you can schedule it today itself and then say Friday at 10 o'clock, let this material be posted. So that's possible. So the scheduling thing is there. Now, next feature that I want to tell is with respect to the YouTube. Now, why is this important? PPT, it is okay to be uploaded, Word, PDF, so on and so forth is okay. But what's difficult to upload, we saw, is with the video. Because it may take a longer time for us, right? And maybe then with the student end, it could be difficult. One very effective way of disseminating the video content information is to do with the YouTube. You can upload in a YouTube and then do it. Now, YouTube is also the part of Google services. So that means you don't need to create a separate account. Any Gmail account, personal Gmail or an ac.in will open a YouTube also. So I have opened the YouTube pertaining to ac.in. So when you open the YouTube, log in with your ac.in and then open, you can see this in your apps. So I'll just show you where is the apps. So if you open a browser and whatever you see there as the square dots, if you just click here, I think it's net again. Okay, I will try to show you probably when the net connects. You can see here also as YouTube. You don't need to search. That is possible here. So once this is done, okay. Now let's say here, right. So once you are there in the YouTube, you can click at this top icon called Create and say Upload Video. So there's a small nudge. When you say Create, there was also something called Go Live. So just that you go and explore what is that Go Live. Is it clear? So upload video. I will try to change. Yeah. So when you click at upload video, this is the screen that you will get. You will select. So if you have your video files with you, and so I have a part of my earlier course. Let's say if you take the video file, select it. So it has already started uploading it. Now you can tell the description in this video, whatever this topic is covered, whatever, something like this. And just slightly go down. There's something called playlist. Alright, so create a playlist so that there also it's a type of library. You just be able to put it in one collection. So you can say new playlist, because I have some playlist, but you might not have. So just create a new playlist. Give a title. So I'll say workshop, let's say 2. Now this is something you need to know it, public, private, unlisted. Public is anybody in the internet can find that, right? Private, nobody can find, only you will be able to see it. You upload it into YouTube, but it is like only available to you. Unlisted is, if you share that link, if somebody has the link, they will see it, right? It has already got uploaded because that's a small file, and thanks that we had a very good Wi-Fi in institution. So this is a benefit of having a strong Wi-Fi system, right? But other end, we should be always careful, mindful of the access. So if you put unlisted, if the link is available, they can see it. It does not require any access to see any YouTube link. At the receiving end, you don't require to log in into Gmail. We see, we can see many songs and whatever it is, all this we are seeing. It does not require any login as such in YouTube. So if you share the link, and if the link they click, the YouTube plays. So I would leave to your judgment or the collective judgment of the faculty taking the course or of the department or of the school how this has to be dealt with. But if you ask my personal opinion, I would always put it public. It's okay, because for me this is academic knowledge, and I'm okay, right, if others also see and appreciate how good is a faculty in Shastra. It's as simple as that. And there are some more settings which you can still make. Workshop 2, create. So once you create, you have to choose that playlist. So it is this video is part of this playlist. So this is not sure what I think it already got uploaded, but okay, let me recreate. So you can select a file. Maybe I'll select a different file. In this more options, you can select the tag. Now this is where I want to say, VC would have said, like, we need to create digital footprints of our good courses. How to leave digital footprints in a digital media. This is one way. Like, I can put the tag as Naren. So whoever searches in YouTube Naren, this video will get listed if I made it as public there. You cannot make it unlisted and then put a tag. It makes no sense because it's already private or unlisted. So something like this you can put as a tag so that you can fetch it. You can put like this as electrical machine as a tag. So whoever searches YouTube for electrical machines will get that video. Is it clear? Provided it is public over there. And this is all, it's okay, language you can select and those things, and then say next, visibility. So this is what I said, private, public, or whatever you want to choose it. So you can say it as public if you want to consciously make it. You can even schedule when this video has to be released, and then say publish. You don't need to be in the screen. You can just minimize the screen. That's all. You can just close this, and you will see a small corner screen appearing here. If my net is good, you will see that it will keep on uploading it. So once uploaded, now if you go to your playlist, now let's say I have these all playlists. So suppose I have checking my fluid mechanics playlist. So these are the videos that I have made of, let's say, for the fluid mechanics course. Now I want to just take this link now. Is it clear? This is what I'm not going to show. So this is what this link alone is required. Now go to the Google Classroom. In your material, you just put that link. When you create a material, so I think when you create a material, okay, so you can add link. This is one way, okay. Another way is YouTube, because you have already uploaded in YouTube. You just click at this URL, find it, it will find this your own video. Just say add, and you just give some title, whatever, description, whatever. Now you can create a different topic for this, because this is not tutorial. Is it clear? So I will create a course video, whatever it is, something which you can relate, your students can relate, and then post it. So once it gets posted, let's see, I'm in Dr. Shankar's thing, so it will appear here. See, posted a new material called fluid. This is from the student view. So if you just click here, the video is there. You don't need to download, it will play. Okay, and you can pass this link on WhatsApp and mail, and they can just directly, or YouTube app, whatever it is. So this is one another thing. This is one another tool I want to tell. So the next tool is something called Jamboard. You would have seen this Jamboard, the digital part in the morning, right? I think Chandramohan and I think Dr. Srinivas Kumar has also put videos. Chandramohan has put, I think, 5-6 videos yesterday's, and there was a lot of people here who also put the same kind of videos, how to write. I remember Shakti has put videos, right? So there are some means by which you can write on a surface, which you can telecast it, digitalize. But those are not collaborative. You can write in your home, but your student cannot write in that slide. He can give annotations, that's on. But simultaneously, suppose if you want to write, right? One way to do that is something called Jamboard. The Jamboard is, a physical Jamboard is also there, and software, app Jamboard is also there. What I'm going to show you is the app Jamboard, right? If you just put in Google, Jamboard, Google. If you put Jamboard, it will go to the physical, the Jamboard link. Just remember this alone, jamboardgoogle.com. This is available only for G Suite. That's one another conscious decision, that why we want to take Google G Suite access and then deliver, because if you do it in Gmail, personal Gmail, this is not available. Now you can click. I have not explored this as part of the course, because very recently I just accidentally tried to come across this. Now I don't have a pad, so I may find it a little difficult, but it is as good as, like, say, if you choose a pen and whatever, if you write like this, right? Let's say you are writing like this, and in your video session, you can share this link. This is a link. This is a URL, right? You can share. As I said, I will make it anyone with the link editor. Let me try this now. Done. I'll just copy this link. I'll go to the workshop 2. Let me just put it in the stream, this link. If anybody is having smart pen or whatever, even in your mobile, just click this link and then go to that ac.in. I want to see whether can you write on this, right? Because you must be part of this workshop classroom. because this link is little longer, so I have not truncated it. Whoever is part of this work classroom, let's see whether you can write here. Yeah, someone is writing. So may I know who is writing? Ah, okay, good. Yeah, somebody is writing. So if you are there, a part of this classroom, can you add some more sheets? Yes, you can do that. So this is something called collaborativeness. Forget about that word of jargon, is not important. Something that I also write on the blackboard, you also write on the blackboard, together we will try to learn it. Is it clear? So this might be useful for someone else. So you can just use this. Yeah, somebody, there are people joining. You can see here people who have joined, and people are able to write it. So this you can use it, and this would be nice if you have. You don't need to have a digital pad and all. I came to know from my own colleague Shakti that the pen is. You have the pen? Oh, this is for Samsung, but I think this is available. Yeah, I think he said it's little 100 or 200 rupees. Separately, also this kind of pen is available, with which you can use it on any mobile system for that place. Oh, that's okay. So if you contact Ramakrishnan sir, he will help you to make how to make it in home, low cost thing, homemade thing with a touch, then with which you will be able to touch also. Is it clear? So this is something that I want to show. The other thing is an interesting thing, which again recently I got introduced from my colleague Vignesh, is something called chat. This is not the chat that you otherwise see in the Gmail. This is the Gmail chat. I'm not talking about this Gmail chat. If you are in the app with the G Suite, this is the app screen. If you look into this, all the apps are available here. So this marketplace, I think Madam will tell a little later. So if you see here, there is something called chat. Click this chat. This is one another way, right? But before going through that, again, thanks to Manigandan, because one morning I missed this. I showed this chat. Then Manigandan gave me a nudge. Okay, why I should use this? Oh, then only I realized in my flyer for showing up, I never explained why it should be shown first. So thanks to Manigandan, and let us see that why I should first need a chat. Is it clear? In the Jamboard, I made that mistake. I didn't tell you why you need Jamboard, but I think you got why Jamboard is needed. Let's say in the stream. So if I'm going to, with anybody who is there as a student in this workshop, you can comment on any of these posts. Is it clear? You can include. Suppose I create a question like this. Why I need to learn addition? This is my question as a teacher. Is it clear? You can post. So, I mean, this is a student posting, but it could be like a teacher also posting. When a teacher posts it can also add material. Student will also be able to add material because we given the settings as students can also add. Can any other student respond to this comment by adding a document? You will be able to type a comment, right? You can now try. Whoever is part of this classroom, in this, you can type your response. It is a wordy response. But can you upload a document to this question in particular? That's not possible. Is it clear? So there's a collection of things is not possible, and it is not possible for a student to upload a document as part of a response. Student can create a separate response, but cannot answer to an already created thread by including a document. Now, if you want student to upload a document when he is responding to a thread, to a discussion, that is where Google Chat is required. So if you open Google Chat, right, it might be blank to begin with. We will soon, I will now itself soon open for the faculty classroom itself, because the first session is already over. So if I now invite, they will also know it. So I'll go to this chat. I'll create a room. Okay, so I'm creating a room. So you will create a room for your course. So let me say I'll create a room. Now I'll create for workshop. Maybe I'll go home and create properly for the workshop, Shastra Faculty Google Classroom. So let me create this. I have created a room in this chat. Now I can add people. Here there is no segregation, I think, or I have not explored who can join and who cannot. So let's say, for example, I will add Ponuswamy sir, right? I have added Ponuswamy sir. So if you are there in chat, you can add anybody else, right? So who is there in the internet? Shankar is there. Yeah, I have added Shankar. Madam Premalada, madam, I have added. So I have added. So these people can now add others. So that means you don't need to add every student. You can just add a few students and then say add now you all others, or you yourself can type all them. Now this is how it's created. Now in this, if you create a thread, right? If I create a thread, or anybody, any members here, there is no segregation of a teacher and a student. If a thread is created, then the response also can be added with an attachment. So there is, if you see it, there is a file and discussion. I'll not spend too much time, but this towards the end of fluid mechanics, I came to know from Vignesh, we just want to explore. Let's say this is of the fluid mechanics class. So there was some question was asked and I just left it. Okay. And the students themselves were trying to put some answers. This student commented on this student. So I am not doing anything. I just triggered it. Then X was posting, Y is commenting on X, X is commenting on Z. It happens. If I need, there should be an intervention. Then I do intervene. Like this, you can create any number of threads. Okay, you can create any number of threads. And that means collection of topics can be followed. So this is one way of creating discussion within the classroom, right? I'm not saying that we should use all forms. We will use those forms which are required, which are necessitated, which will make our own experience, or rather their experience, better, effective. Or we can simultaneously use all the forms, because some people will be comfortable with this, some people will be comfortable with that. But I think at least at the beginning you need to slightly nudge the student to make it that way, and then that works better. So that is something I want to show. And that's all right, meet and forms and assignment. Docs. Okay. Now if you go to the drive, there's one another feature. Now I think many of you are aware with Google Docs, Google Sheets and so on, so which is like Excel is Google Sheet, Google Doc is Word. Now Google Doc can also be used as a platform for exchange. I'm not saying it should be for exchange, I'm just saying another dimension of how to use that. Now let me go to this. I'll directly go to the example, so that from the example let us discuss whether the genesis can be inferred. Because every time genesis need not be explicitly told, that also we should train the students by, can you come out with genesis after observing something? Because from observation we should be able to take out the genesis that is there in what we observe. So I'm just showing you an observation. Right? You don't need to read through the contents. Can you just see what is I'm trying to put here? Can you understand what is this? Don't try to read, because if you read it, you will interpret technically. Right? My intention is not to have a technical thing. What I'm trying to put, probably in this class, maybe I'll show with the one with the. Yeah. What are you trying to see? Are you able to observe something? What is observed? Document, material. Who is that? Comments, yeah. This is a common class notebook that we experimented as part of the course. I have created a doc, again shared it, open. What I said is, after the end of class, does not mean after the end of physical time of the class, towards the end of the day, before my next class, anybody can type what was taught in that day's class. Okay? And somebody else can also comment. Any number of people can put the same thing also. I don't mind it. It's a common notebook which everybody wants to write. Okay? Sometimes I see it, sometimes I just see it to just understand. I would have spoken on addition. Everybody would have written that he discussed on subtraction. Right? And this is for me to know that, oh, that means I have not told addition is plus symbol. Is it clear? Or something like that. Probably my delivery itself was wrong on that day, and that is the fruitful. I cannot go back and rectify that day's delivery because that has already happened, but at least the next day I can try to slightly improvise myself to make it better. So this is another way of indirectly gauging of what is being received at the learner's end rather than what is delivered from the teacher's end. Because we always have great understanding of what we want to deliver. But the point in learning is what is being received at the other end, what is the construction they have put in their mind. That's much more important. So this is another way that you can do. Now I'll just move to some other parts. So other thing that you want is assignment creation. We need to create assignment, and for this I would invite Dr. Shankar, because this assignment is nothing to do with the requirement of the course that it's whatever the mark that we have to enter in an academic web software. It is not the assignment is not the part that is there in an academic web evaluation system. Assignment is a part of the learning process. So assignment has nothing to do with, because it is an online semester or a COVID, we need to create a lot of these assignments. That is why I want to in person call Dr. Shankar, because he used to create so many assignments for his courses, and it is very well known, especially among bioengineering students and of his colleague friends, us from SCBT. And his assignments, it's not like very strangely to award marks and all. He used his questions, and how I know is very simple. For the IET, I used his classroom to present it, right? So, yeah. So the point is, his assignment question itself will be like, what did you understand in this topic? Everybody has to write 4 lines. That is assignment. That's it. Right?
Yes. So I will share some examples with you. So this course is last semester's course where this COVID scare was not there. So I have this Google Classroom page where if I go to the grades, I can see all the assignments that were given. You can see there are so many assignments. All of them are not to be graded. Everything did not have marks. Only these ones, 1, 2, 3, 4 had marks. But how it helps me is, at a glance, I can see how the students have performed. In one table, I can see, you see the tick marks and the missing responses. I can see that if you see these 2 students, you see that even if the assignments were not graded, they have responded. While, of course, we have other examples. even if it was graded, they have not responded. So this this overall table, so you can guess who would have got more marks here. But how it helps is when even if I have to discuss with the dean, AD, I can show this table at a glance, and they can very easily see that how the class has progressed. So this is an example to show how we can use this platform for managing assignments and grading. Okay? Then I also use this one. So there are some comments also. We will be having discussions with the students. I can post my comments and students can respond to this. So if I click here, so I can see how many people have responded. I can put my comments which students can respond to. So if I go to this student, so here I will be using the dialog box here to communicate with the student. I'm saying my comments, what is to be done. If the students can correct it and reattach the assignment. So this I use to have a dialogue with the student and discuss what has been going on. The other application of this classroom that we had this semester was for managing students' projects. The SAP student or internal students' projects we managed using this Google Classroom. So that example I will show you. So this was one aspect. The other aspect is this one. So here, this is a classroom for the project work for SAP students from SCBT. So here, we had submissions of synopsis, thesis, presentation, everything is submitted here. The other people whom I give access can see what is the progress as an ongoing thing. And here also I can put some comments. I can have a dialog box. When the students are submitting these documents, I can give them feedback whether they need to improve on it. So I will show you one example here. For example, this student. So when this student is submitting the thesis, the month was maybe May or some other month, so I'm asking her or him to change that. The student is also responding, so again I am using it as a dialog box to let the student know what is the status and discuss with them. So again here, this platform is being used for managing the Google, the projects. So that is what I wanted to show. Okay, thank you.
So now I'll go to the usual part of how to create, which is just a matter of just if you know how and all it can be used, then let's see how to create it. So you can just go to create. I'm in workshop 2 as a teacher. So I'll just create an assignment. Let's say this is assignment 1. So you can create whatever it is, okay, what you feel of this session, something like this, okay. If you want to add files, you can add. You can make this assignment for everybody or for a few select of students, but I think usually we don't do this. It can be graded, ungraded. You can change the points, whatever you want. If it is for 10 marks, you can select a due date and time. So let's say everybody has to submit till tomorrow or whatever it is, the dates. This is again rubrics you can create. This is a new feature. I have not personally used it. But we have this MEC 102 course. I think 15 of us take across. Dr. Nadaraja Pillai from Mechanical was using this rubric also. I think he tried it as part of this. So we can actually create a rubric system and then award marks specifically. So that is also possible. And once it is, this assignment can be again posted immediately, or you can schedule the assignment. Let's say, suppose if I post it now, and I'll just show you from a student class how it looks like. So I have posted the assignment because in the stream it comes, assignment is posted. So you can, so now this is with Dr. Shankar. So you can see that there is an assignment waiting in this classroom. It will come here. and you can just click on this. So if it is nothing to be uploaded, if it is direct comment, okay, the session is okay, whatever it is, you told this, you told that, and something like, you can just some comment. This can be a public comment, private comment, whatever it is, but I think we should encourage people technically to at least put a public comment. Or you can upload, they can upload a material, right? Let me just upload a material. Why I'm showing the student view to you? It's very simple, because many times students will tell, sir, I'm not able to do it. Unless we also know what is that end, then only we can give directions on phone. This is how it will look, go here, click it, and it will work. So we need to be aware of what is there at that end to actually deliver better from our end, right? So let me just upload something. Okay, I'm just uploading a random file. So once it is uploaded, sometimes students don't turn in. So that is why you just see, anyhow you can grade it. The moment they upload, it is already done. They don't need to turn in per se, but this turning is just kind of a, I would say, figurative confirmation that they have done it. But even if they don't do it, the moment they upload, they cannot delete from the drive. From the drive, the assignment is already available. Is it clear? So that means students will not be able to say, sir, I did not do the assignment, that file was wrong. Nothing like that. The moment they upload, it will be available. Anyhow, they can unsubmit, upload the next file. But even when they unsubmit and upload the next file, the first file will be available in the drive. In the drive of this classroom, it will be available. Now, if you go to the faculty end, so I am again in the teacher end. If I click this, I'll see that one person has already turned in the assignment. If I just view the assignment, I can see who is have to turn in, who has turned in. I can just click on this person, read this, and I can give my comment, okay, so this can be explained, whatever it is. I can give comment like this, or I can click on this document and also annotate. That is also possible here. And then if mark has to be given, I can give marks. Let me be gracious here. So I can give marks, right? So we will give the marks, right? And once the marks is attained, it will ask, do you want to return it? So I want to return for that student. You can give comments while returning the marks also. And again, if you go to the student end, so this is from the student end. So it is already, yeah, right? So there is already comments, marks, and everything. So this is possible, right? How? Yeah, this is a good question. Balachandra sir is asking how to identify the students late, submitting late. You will see here as done late coming here, right? There is something called done late, so you know that they have done late than the actual time. So that is one thing. Afterwards, when you have assigned all the marks, if you click at this icon, you can download all the grades as a CSV file or an Excel file, so everything is available. So this is assignment part. The next, we will slightly stretch over by 10-20 minutes, and I hope that's okay. We will still wind up by 4:30 for us to leave by the day, but we'll, because there's a slight delay in the beginning with, we'll just go little over 4 o'clock. Two more topics have to be covered, is one with the forms and another is the Google Meet. Now again, the form feature is nothing but, the form feature is something to create quiz. When we say quiz, what comes to your mind? If I say only quiz. If we say quiz, what comes to your mind? Something comes to your mind, right? Quiz na marks comes to my mind. Question answer, MCQ. Derek O'Brien, very good, fantastic. So this is good lateral thinking. So that means we need to, we can use different forms of quiz as such within the Google form. It is not only MCQ. So that is what I want to stress, and you can go and explore. Now tomorrow there is going to be a session on tutorial and assessment. So we don't have a practice session here. What I would request is we have identified courses, we know what courses we are going to take and we are already combined. Each one of you can go create a mock or a dummy classroom, right? Invite other teachers, other colleagues as teachers or students. You can be teachers or students to somebody else's classroom. Try to play around with all these features. Because only the more you explore, you will know all these features. Because you will not be able to do this with an actual student thing. Right? So this is again the quiz feature which I want to take. I hope in the Google Faculty Classroom there are videos of how to do this in more elaborately. Those videos were made by Ramakrishnan sir and Premalata madam. So only after that I came to know that we have very good person who has already made it. So I just borrowed, thanks to Dr. Shankar Sriram, and I just posted it. So only that posting part I did. So the videos actually from her creation. And I came to know that she was also creating quizzes much before again this period. And she had very another feature of question of the day is sent to all her students on WhatsApp every time. So that is how she is known probably from her SOC colleagues. Right. Yeah.
Good evening. This is a sample quiz I have created for my first year class. And these are the questions I have uploaded, right? And I have uploaded this quiz online, and then I'll just let you know how to see the responses and analytics we can take it from there, right? So once you have given the assignment, just click on the forms, that is the quiz, and it will redirect you to this page, and then you can see the questions and also the responses. And here I can get a detailed summary sheet about each and every question. So for each and every question, who has answered correctly, how many correct answers, and what is the average point, median points and range of the marks I have got. And the question wise summary will also be given here. For first question, how many of them have answered correctly, and I can move to the second question. So likewise, how many questions I can have? I can get a question wise report. How many of them have given correct answer and how many of them have not given incorrect answers. And then individual performance I can measure by clicking the mail ID. If I click the drop down, I can get the list of all students from which I can select, and then I can view their answers separately. This is also another way of analyzing the results. And if I want this sheet to be downloaded as an Excel sheet, I can click on this plus icon such that I can get these options. You can name the sheet and then you can create an Excel sheet, and wherein all the details of this statistics will be available, right? And creating quiz. Just go to the same workshop class. In classwork, you can go for create quiz assignment, and again you can give the title, instructions, points, due date, and which topic it belongs to. Then click on this blank quiz. This is also another Google form. Here they are using it for creating, that is giving quiz assignments. You can give the questions. And here the options can be given, that is options for giving options, right? That is, it can be a short answer, paragraph, multiple choice question, check boxes. So whatever you want, you can give. If I am giving short answer, it will be like this. And then if answer key is required, I can add a correct answer. And other than see if they are giving another options, it can be said as incorrect. And the points for this question is also given. So after finishing all the questions, you can close this and you can directly post that. You can assign the quiz or else you can schedule it for later. So while posting the quiz, you might be facing some late submissions. If you want to avoid such late submissions, we can download an app called Form Limiter. It is available in Google Marketplace. I'll just tell you the name, just explore it. The name is Form Limiter add-on. It is available in G Suite Marketplace. So if you install this, so now the form limiter has been installed. So if I am again creating any new form here, this I am picking from Google Apps. I am creating a blank form. See, this is the add-on installed here. This form limiter add-on is installed. From right, you can find this icon. If you click on this, you can set the limit. It is uploading. So here I can select the limit type, that is as date and time. And I can fix the date, and after that date the student cannot submit, or after that time the student cannot submit. So I can also limit the number of responses, and also I can limit, if the Excel sheet has been reached this much value, then no more responses are allowed, right? These are the three options available in form limiter. So in this Google form is not only meant for conducting quiz, we can collect feedbacks, and whatever purpose we want, we can use this Google Forms, right? And in settings of Google Form, I can restrict that particular access to the form within the organization, and also I can give the link of the form by clicking the send option. The second, this chain type of icon is the link icon. I can get the link, or I can get shortened URL and copy this link, and wherever I want I can share this link. This is all about forms, but you can explore each and every options, what are all the other answers and other responses we can give. Right?
So this is what you can try it out today evening, because tomorrow when they talk about conceptually on assignments and assessments, this is something that would be useful to you, because quiz is not always about MCQ. Go and see what is checkbox, dropbox, multiple grid options, what is file upload. So that means you can create a form with a lot of these. Quiz is just a letter word, but the quiz itself, solve this question and upload the answer in that form itself. So that can be done. So just go explore this, and the more this explore, then you will find ways of trying to make formative or summative assessments using the form feature of Google. But this is not only again for the form feature, we can also use this as a learning feature at the end of every class. For example, you might have got email now, mark attendance in your ID. That is actually only a response, right? I have just said your ID, did you attend the meeting? Now I can ask, like for example, at the end of every class, I talked about fluid mechanics, chemical engineering, both, neither of those. It's okay, they will choose. Okay, they will choose it. So that it will come to us to know that how many people have understood it. So if you know the tool, how to use the tool is something personalized to you to your students and how you visualize what is your teaching philosophy at large and what you want students to be learnt out of that. So at the end of every day when we do an online session, you can create a simple Google form saying that it can be anonymous also. You can just give them an option. I thought about topic X, Y, Z. Which topic is tough? You ask them to grade it. There is a linear grading scale available. So let them grade it. Don't take it very personally, but just see that and then try to improvise yourself. And this is something like where I want to again share. I've been doing this end of course survey. I mean, usually when we think feedback, we see the feedback of the formal structured feedback that we want. But what I'm saying is this end of course survey I do after the grading is awarded. After the results have come, many will be happy, some will not, but that's okay. After that, I want to kind of know their sensation of what they feel of the course is all about. Not everybody will respond to that survey, but it is okay. Whoever wants to convey the opinion, they will convey. So if you see that only 20, this I just sent last week, 21 people have only responded. I even closed it and then archived the class. Out of 60, 21 wanted to respond, 21 have responded. They are good responses. Good in a sense, not in terms of feedback. They wanted to respond. That is good. And the questions can be very simple like that. What I messed up? What are the 3 topics that you liked in this course? Something like that. Is it clear? So this technical concept that I messed up, then only I understood. They read it as I means subject, the student. It is actually I messed up. Right? Technical concept that Naren messed up. This is what I want them to list. Right? In their opinion, what they think as something that I had messed up during my delivery. So forms can also be used for such interventions. Now the last feature, which is again very important tool that we want to know, is something to do with the Google Meet, right?
We have been using Google Meet for a long during the COVID period, right? Most of us would have used it. This is just to give an thing how to do it, right? So in case of the Google Meet, Chrome.
Yes. Yeah.
This is Shankar's. This is
No,
yours.
no, wait, just.
Was in Chrome. Yes. So every class has gotten Google Meet in the banner thing available. Most of us would have used that one. Please avoid using that because whoever joins first will get the organizing rights. Your students might join first before you. They might be able to remove you from the meeting. The recording and all these things will be stored in their drive. You will not have access to it. So in that case, that is not the correct way to use it. The Meet link which is available over here. Rather, what we can do is, we can go to the classwork option. There we have gotten Google Calendar available there. So we can click on this Google Calendar. So we get the calendar view over here. And you can select the particular date in which you want to have an session. All right, probably if you wanted to have it today, so you can click on that. Right, and then you can just give a title for this meeting. Let's say this is workshop 2 Meet. Right, so we are there with Meet, and if you look at it, we have got more options over here. When you go at these more options, invite others options are there. See guest list is there. If you do not want your students to invite anybody else and all these things, you can just remove this option, and if you want your students to see who have been invited for that, you can keep the see the guest list option open, right? So that can be given, and you can add even guests over here. When I mean guests, it's not only the people who to be added, you can add the entire classroom also here. Suppose Narayan has got a fluid mechanics class, it comes over here. But remember, when you select this option, you should choose the one which has got the pupil symbol. If you choose the one which is there, this is probably an arcade class kind of thing, or the entire thing. If you choose this one, all the students of that particular class will be automatically available over here. And if you say now, save this option, it will send an invite to all the students. Yeah. The time.
Should be in the course calendar.
Yeah. This can be scheduled in the calendar, actually speaking, the course calendar in which you want to happen. So you can choose that particular course calendar, you can click on that, and you can put it over there, right? And then when it comes to the other things, like if you want it to be scheduled every week, because we will be using it, right? We can say it as repeat it on a weekly basis, on Wednesdays, on Thursdays. It will keep on repeating. This is as usual, we know it anyhow. Yeah, just I'm saying it for the sake of recollecting it. And this can be done. And once you say save, it will ask an option. Do you want to send an invite? If you click this one, the students will get the invite over there in their mail. They can join using that invite in the mail. Or if you want, we can also share the link from the Google Meet event itself. We have an link available here.
Yeah. Add.
This link can be shared with the students through the Google Classroom. So if you do it this way, it is much more organized. Not only that one, when you go back to your calendar, when the students, after the class is over, previous week if they come, if they click on the event, they will be able to see the recorded videos also over there. So it's very well organized. They can go back and see the recordings which of the previous class also over there. All these things can be done if you do it through the calendar. And all these recordings will be available in your Google Drive under the folder Meet Recordings. Under Meet, just like Classroom as a folder, we have got Meet Recordings also there. Every video will be available there in the Meet Recordings for you. So that's how it can be done. So this is how to do the Google Meet live concept. And there were few questions on how to mute the mic, dismiss people and all these things. Yes, it can be done person by person. Cannot be done as a whole for the entire classroom. Google has not yet released an update for that. You can do it person by person in terms of muting the person, removing the person, all these things can be done individually at present. Right. Any other doubt in this Google Meet? Apart from this, one good practice which we are doing in SOC at present is that for all internal exam audit things, what we have done is we have created a Google folder and we are uploading all the question papers for CAA in the particular folder. Every question setter has to upload his question there after the exams are over, along with the key and everything, so that the key can be shared by the faculty members within them through the Google folder. And for future is also we are using it over there for documentation purpose. So we do not have physical files over there. So we are using that also in our School of Computing, where all the question papers, everything is organized properly in terms of semesters, CAA 3, everything in a Google Drive clearly. We are using that also in our School of Computing. So the avenues are there. It is only for us to explore and start using it. Thank you.
Yeah. So one more thing what I just want to add is we need to develop the practice of using Google Calendar for the course so that we can actually prepare and inform them in advance. So if you just go to, that is also an app. So if you open a Google Calendar, it will open like this. It's not only scheduling the meet. Let's say I want to teach these topics on these days. If I have already structured it for the next month, just go to August. I have structured that I am going to teach this. Click on this. Click on more option. Only thing is, in this calendar, choose that particular course. Let me say that on workshop 2, I will talk on fluids, whatever it is. Right? If you want Google Meet, you create it. You don't need to create Google Meet necessarily if you want to put in calendar. If you want to make it as a Google Meet, then create it. What I'm saying is, even when we are in the physical classroom, I think we should get practice of scheduling this. It's nothing to do with only COVID and online and those stuffs. Create it, choose the day, choose the time, what is your time class and everything. And if you just say that save, I have now saved it. So whoever is having a part of workshop 2, now if you open your Google Calendar on August 10th, this topic will be available. Yeah, this is like lecture plan. So they can show in advance. If you want to create a meet, that's a different thing, if you can create it. So that's With this, I think we have broadly covered on creating classrooms, getting added to a classroom, how to invite others, how to post material, something on how to structure the material, how to use Google Chat, Jamboard, and then on Google Doc, how to make a course log. We also see assignments. We saw something on Google Forms and on Google Calendar and Google Meet. All these are recorded, will be made available later on, but also this is also available as part of, if you go to the faculty classroom, if you have joined, click on this classwork. I am as a student in this. If you click this classwork, these are the 6 videos which I told were made available. So all these things, how to create assignments, posting messages, everything is there. We can also create, if you have any specific demands, I think Madam will be gracious enough to create, and then we can just organize here itself, right? So with this, I would like to end this session. Go home, please practice, create mock classrooms, invite each other colleagues, and then it would be more fruitful for tomorrow. And I would again look to end up with the 2 teaching philosophies which I have borrowed, or which I got reminded from the Team 1 nudge given by the VC, or the trigger given by the VC. He said, don't try to, in terms of covering the syllabus, right? There should not be a rush to cover the syllabus. I borrow it from the 2015 graduate batch convocation. We had, not just because he's a chemical engineer, but we had one very good, nice gentleman person, Professor Anant, the former director of IIT Madras, was here at Shastra for the convocation for the 2015 graduate batch, and he just said we should not cover the syllabus as teachers. He actually on that day addressed for both teachers and students, and he said this line, we should not cover the syllabus, we should uncover the syllabus. So I have uncovered some features of Google Classroom. Rest is up to the thirst that is being there in that person to know it better. And one more teaching philosophy, which again I borrow from him, is he said, in the class, first tell the students what you want to tell. Then actually tell the students what you want to tell or what you wish to tell. And then at the end, you again tell them what you have told them. Right? So this is in a very short way of message that he had given then. And I was very fortunate to see that here. So with that, I would end today's session, and let's meet tomorrow for the session on T4 and T5. Thank you all for your participation.